Hello, friends. Hello, everyone. It is me, Tom Burns, your friend here. I'm just getting things set up. I'm quite certain I have it as best as I can. I'm doing Facebook Live. I'm doing Facebook Live from my computer, my desktop, and I'm doing mobile right here on my phone. I'm just trying to sort it all out, which I may or may not be successful at. So just bear with me. I'm doing the best I can. So, why am I here today? What is it that I have to do? What is it that I'm putting myself out here and explaining to a whole bunch of people what's been going on in my life? The list just keeps going on and on and on. So, for one, I just want to mention that I will be talking about Reiki. I will be talking about my spirituality. If that's not for you, totally cool. I completely understand. Just by, courtesy's sake, I guess, please don't be rude or put comments in there that are just not professional. At least I can try to answer what I can if I can see it. Again, I'm working on a Facebook platform here and the Instagram platform, so I don't really know how well I'm going to be or how well I can capture things. So anyway, so this talk is about Reiki, my experiences with Reiki. So, what is Reiki? Well, we're going to talk about the myths, the misconceptions, and what it is, and how my experience has been with Reiki and what it has done for me. So, right off the bat, before I begin anything, there's something that I like to do, and it's before I start any session, do any work virtually, or any teaching, that kind of thing, is I just take a moment and I take a few breaths. So, if you want to join me with that right now, I'm going to be live doing it. Yeah, I'm throwing myself out there doing this. So if you end up popping on while I'm in the middle of it, I'm just taking some breaths and I'm just slowing things down. And maybe I might have a few words, but I'm at this place of quiet and solitude where I can do that. So it's just to center me. And it's also, if you're witnessing or if you're a part of this as well, that you can do the same with me. So I'm just slowing things down and taking a big breath in through my nose, letting light, healing, anything that serves me come in. With my breath out, I'm releasing any of the yuck, any of the cobwebs, any of the dust that is not serving me. And I'm going to repeat that a few times. Breathing in clarity, balance, connection, and releasing that which does not serve me. And as I do that, a nice cool breeze comes in through the window just to help settle me down. Another big breath in. And another breath out. When I breathe out, it's a big sigh. I can feel my body begin to relax physically. Last big breath in. And another one. And so, whenever I start any session, whenever I do any work, whenever I'm working on a client, whenever I'm speaking to a client, whenever I'm doing any instruction, I always do that. And the reason I do that is because it's a practice that I try to do every single day. Quiet breathing. I might not announce it, I might not be teaching it, I might not be instructing or guiding anybody, but I do it for myself as often as I can. And it's not something that I can always have to do sitting down in quiet and solitude, because in my life it's extremely rare to get quiet and solitude, just with the kids and moving and situations and trying to run a business and all that stuff. So I often find myself that while I'm in the middle of doing a chore or tasks or dishes or whatever, I take that time to mindfully breathe. And that's all I do is nice big breaths in and out while I'm in the middle of doing something. It might not, get myself into this profound experience of meditation, but it does slow things down and it does line me up. And oftentimes, if there's anything going on with my mind or anything emotionally, it can just, reground me and I can remove anything that's not serving me in that perspective. So I'm going to take a little sip of coffee. If you have one in front of you, I'd advise you to do the same, or water or kombucha. Um, I dare say this for me is an alcohol free zone, but if you're enjoying a nice, gentle beer or whatever, feel free to do so. There's no judgment here. Just a coffee for me. No additives, just coffee. There's something about fully immersing yourself in any moment, right? And when you've made a nice cup of coffee or you've had one served to you, and you're, it could be coffee, it could be meal, it could be a sunset, it could be whatever. But when you fully immerse yourself in that experience, there's just something really nice about it, right? So I'm going to take another one. Yeah, that's nice. That's almost perfection, if there was such a thing. So, Reiki, what is it? What are the misconceptions? What are the myths? What's my experience with it? Is it good or bad? Well, I'll talk about traditional Usui Reiki and what it is, and then I'm going to start backing things up. And I'm not trying to offend anyone. This is just my perspective. This is how I go about doing my healing, how I go about doing my teaching, that kind of stuff, right? So, Reiki was created or founded by Dr. Mikao Usui. He was a Japanese man born in Tokyo, and this was in the late 1920s is when he had it fully developed and began to express it and bring it out into the world, that kind of thing. Mikao, in his young, early life, he was really, really sick. And I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what that illness was, but it was sick. And a lot of people at that age, at that young toddler, young sort of childhood age, didn't make it from it. They died, I guess physically would be the best way to say it. They expired. Their bodies no longer, you know. So he got through, and he had a lot of questions. This is how the legend goes. This is what we know historically as best as I can. I apologize if I'm not as accurate as I should be or could be, but I'm doing my best here. He, got this illness, whatever was, it could have been tuberculosis, right? I don't remember. We can find it on Google. If you really want to know, you can find it and read pages and pages of the stuff. So he healed himself somehow. He was someone that survived this illness while others did not. And it left this spark in his mind and in his heart as to how did that happen? Why did it happen? And is there a way that you can heal yourself? Is there a way that you can heal others? I mean, he just started asking these questions that, especially for that time, and especially in feudal sort of very regimented Japan pre World War One, like things were very disciplined. If you know anything about the Japanese culture, especially back then, and I'm no expert, but it was very regimented, very disciplined. They have a beautiful tea ceremony, which is a spiritual sort of movement and art, and it can take an hour just to brew tea and then serve it. It takes us 5 minutes, if not, in our own kitchens. But there, it's a very regimented, very holistic, very mindful, disciplined action, which is kind of reflective of all of the things that the Japanese society do at that time. So Reiki is no different, and it is a product of that time. However, it is said that Dr. Mikao, when he reached a certain age, young manhood, young adulthood, he wanted to go out into the world and find and study ways in which he can learn about this energy that's been around that he can use to help heal people. Now, that energy was not exclusive at that time. The cultures back then had learned about, and a lot of samurai used ki, or what we now call chi energy. So they had this awareness about an energy, and the Japanese society back in that time, it was used to prepare themselves, and it translates into Japanese martial arts today. They connect with and they use chi or ki energy, and they use it for battle, right? They use it typically to align themselves and get ready for these war. That is one interesting way to use this energy, but we're not going there. I mean, you can use this energy however you want. Humans can decide. We have free will to do what we will. So back in that time with how things were, they gear up, take their samurai swords, and they would go into battle, right? When they connected to that energy. So they had an understanding of this energy and they used it post battle, mindset, emotions, and connecting just to that energy body to help heal themselves. So Reiki was sort of an adaptation of something that had already been going on, but under a different word and under a different language. But Dr. Mikao said, like, well, I need to go and back this up. I need to find this out. So Dr. Mikao Usui traveled the world, apparently, stopped in India and found sacred, secret books, scripts, where he discovered symbols. And these symbols were used to, well, if you know anything about Reiki or if you practice it or want to learn, I guess, these symbols were used to help in the healing of self and the healing of others and the healings of persons, situations, that kind of thing. So he took this information, brought it back, and started working on it on his own, just private practice, I guess, and was seeing results. And he thought to himself, this is energetically connected. I need to create this type of thing for other people. Like, this isn't just something that I think is for me. This is something that I believe innately other people should have access to, because his understanding is that we all have access to this. Now I'm going to pause for a second and back way up. So this idea, this concept of what Dr. Mikao Usui was talking about, is that we all have a innate connection to this energy, and believing that we can all do something with this innate connection is ancient. As long as human beings have been writing things down in a spiritual or a religious type of way, they've been talking about things like the Holy Spirit or chi or ki or prana or whatever the language is, whatever that word is. This concept is as old as we are. And people are like, wait a second, this energy, what are you talking about? Like, we can't really heal ourselves. How do we heal ourselves? Well, we know that from a biological perspective, the second you cut yourself or bruise yourself, your body goes into motion. We don't consciously know what's happening. I mean, science can, write it all down and tell you step by step how the body goes about healing itself. But from an existential perspective of your own self, in the moment you cut yourself, we are not in analysis mode and watching that healing happen. We just know and trust that the body's going to do that. So it does. Well, imagine you can kind of tap into that. You can tap into the perspective of or the energy of and decide you want to do something about that. So that idea has been around for eons, millennia, millennia and millennia. Now, how far and how deep that goes, it's been argued, and it's my kind of opinion. I don't have a whole lot of facts, but there are people who study this, and if you want to do some research, you can find it, that have been studying that this type of thing has been held only for like the religious elite, like high priest, high priestess, politicals type of things, kings, priests, whatever, however you want to call it. And I'm talking thousands of years. That they knew what humans were capable of doing, and so they kept this to themselves so that they could gain worship. Right? That's kind of the conspiracy about it. But from my perspective, it makes sense, right? Nowadays, we look at those who have value. Back then, if you could heal people from battles or because illnesses were rampant and that type of thing, if you could heal people from that, you were of power, right? So nowadays, we know that money, if people have lots of money, you've got the illusion of power, I guess is the best way to put it. Anyways, I digress. So fast forward, we'll zoom in again to Dr. Mikao Usui. Is what he did is he created a method and a methodology on how to connect with energy, this divine energy, which he calls Reiki energy. And when you connect with that energy, you can now use it or you can ask it, or I wouldn't say the word manipulate, but be a conduit of this energy to direct it where you would like it to be directed or where you feel inclined it needs to be directed. And that energy goes just like water. When you have a certain channel and you pour that water, it follows the channel and it goes where it needs to go. Now, from my own personal perspective and my own experience, I've been I was born into a Roman Catholic family, a very Christian family, very loving religious family. Um, and I've been, practicing practicing Christian, I guess, up until I was 14 or 15, where I decided that wasn't cool anymore. And I didn't understand it, and it was in a language that was ancient or that didn't speak to me, that didn't bring my best self out. It seemed like a whole lot of jargon and a whole lot of dogma and a whole lot of politics, and it didn't make sense to me. But I always resonated with Jesus Christ. I always thought like, wow, imagine being a human being that had that type of connection, that could listen to God and have a relationship, very innately and very intimately, and then using that connection and using what you have for some goal and some purpose. And Jesus is a wonderful example because he used that for healing. It was like his calling, his purpose was to help people. And I love that. So my idea throughout all this time, and not, following Christian religion and that type of thing, but just of my own volition, was that I wanted to be like that. Like I wanted to feel that connection, know that connection, and help people with that connection. Um, it doesn't mean I'm Jesus or anything like that. I'm not trying to be. I want to be me, the best version of me that I can be. And so, I'll zoom back in again with Reiki. And so what happened is that Dr. Mikao Usui, developed uh, a system which allows people to connect to this energy. And with this energy, Reiki universal energy, you can, like I said, channel it or direct it where you want to. And there can be all kinds of different side effects. And by side effects, I mean good. So I wrote a list here of common misconceptions, and I can just go and go and go and go. And the people who wanted me, and my small team of my wife and the gentleman who helps with the back end with technology, wanted me to really kind of follow the format, and that's something I kind of do. It's not on me to follow things directly unless I really systematically need to. But when I'm doing this, I'd rather just talk. I'd rather just present and try to hit as best I can on the points that I want to make. But I'm not perfect, and that's not kind of how I roll because I know that the energy and the flow of the conversation is just going to go wherever it's going to go, and I'll try to keep the point here. Um, I don't know if anyone's trying to message me or anything because uh, I don't think so, and that's fine. Oh, hey Tom, hey Catherine, good to see you. So, anyways, um, is it a cult or is it a religion? Well, no. There's no, there's been organizations that have tried to make this a massive sort of everyone must follow a specific regiment or a specific policy or set of policies. No, but you can be a Reiki practitioner or a Reiki master or someone who receives Reiki, um, healing or goes to sessions regularly without having to jump into anything that involves a number of people. We're inclined as human beings to do that for some reason, to jump into these groups and then to celebrate and grow this thing, which is fine. But Reiki can just be something that is absolutely sacred to you and only you. It doesn't have to go beyond that. So, for example, there's no requirement whatsoever for me to go and meet a group of other people ever and to practice Reiki. That's not a requirement. There's no lists of things required by, the traditional Usui Reiki system that says you must follow these exact things. It's really up to you and it's really up to choice. And so, is it a religion? No. It can be devoutly followed by people who fervently practice it and believe in it black and white, A to Z. There's nothing wrong with that. I have found in my practice that traditional Usui Reiki became the foundation from which I continued to expand and expand and expand and expand. So it's something that I keep in my practice, but it's not exclusively just traditional Usui Reiki. It became the foundation cornerstone of what it is that I do with my practice and with my healing, with my energy work, and that type of thing. And I've moved on. I can't tell you how many I'm up to now. Every time I'm half interested or I get compelled to be drawn towards another type of learning, I take it. I follow it. I don't know how many certificates I have now. It doesn't matter. I think 15 or 16 types of different healing modalities. I don't know. I just keep going for it. And what I've found is that Reiki is incredibly simple. It's not difficult to do in the sense that you don't have to wrap your head around too much. Sometimes learning the symbols can be a challenge, but there's ways around that, is the best way to put it. It's very straightforward. Anyone can do it, and um, the results are active results. So what I mean by that is it's really easy to, and I'm not knocking this at all because I do this as well, and there's no reason why anyone shouldn't. But there becomes an active or inactive factor when it comes to your spiritual practice or your religious practice. So some people pray, and there's nothing wrong with that. But imagine you could take the type of energy that you put into prayer and asking Source or God or the universe or whatever, whoever, um, to help you. Imagine you could take an active participatory role in whatever it is that you're asking or whatever it is that you're inclined to send energy to. So, for example, most people, say, please, whoever, whatever above, help with this situation. It's traumatic, it's horrible, people are getting hurt. Help, please, help, please, help, please. And, you say your prayers in the name of whatever, and then you walk away and hope that the best that you could do has been done, right? Now, Reiki, and the practice of working with energy, when you back up just from Reiki, but Reiki being the foundation, says, okay, I can, you know, maintain that mindset of the desire to help, maintain that mindset of knowing and connecting to something, but I don't have to ask anymore because I know that this source is a constant. It's a constant source. It's just like, well, luckily for us on Earth, it's like air. It's there right now. So that's the idea behind energy, is that it's universal. It's always there for eternity, and we can tap into that. Now the idea is, like I spoke about a little bit earlier, is that instead of like a random, hey, will you take care of this for me? We can now connect with it and saying thank you gratefully for allowing me to connect to this source, to this energy, to this beautiful, oh, I don't even know what you want to call it. And then allowing me to decide and to channel and to move it where I feel it needs to be directed. And I am not the source of it, although I am of it. I am not the source of it. I can connect to it like you plug in a socket into the electricity and it lights up a lamp, right? If you plug it in and you're holding the lamp, well, you're not the electricity, nor are you the lamp. but you are the conduit. So a lot of people can kind of fall into this idea that, aha, I am the source of this. Well, you're not excluded from source, but you can't say that, you are. Well, you're the conduit of it. And it's a beautiful, incredible thing, especially when you get to feel it in action and then watch that lamp light up and feel that electricity. I call it electricity. I mean, I'm walking, I'm working in sort of, similes, I guess. Um, when you get to witness it happen, right? So it's exclusive to no one. It's available to everybody, and it should, if you keep the proper mindset and the proper practice, enhance and really deepen your own personal beliefs, whatever they are. There are some people who believe in chaos and destruction, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of chaos. It is, but to be an implementation of chaos as part of your belief is not what this is all about. Destruction and sadness and all those lower sort of feelings. Like, no, that's not what this is about. If you are of that vibration, then, or if you're of that mindset, if you're of that belief, then okay, maybe this isn't for you. But if this has been happening to you and you're looking for an answer, you're looking for a way to feel better and to be active in participation to feel better, well, now is the time to sort of pay attention, right? So, anyways, where I was going with that is that it's not exclusive to any religious belief. It's not exclusive to any creed. It's not exclusive to whether or not you are of this sect or of this belief or of this creed or of this mindset or of this religious participation. It is inclusive. It is to take that and say, hey, this actually really works. This actually really works for me. So I'm going to talk about my father just for a moment. God bless his soul. I feel him a lot here. I'm in their old homestead, their old farmhouse. So there's oftentimes that I feel him, right? So I'm going to talk about him right now. So he was a practicing Christian, Roman Catholic, his entire life. He went from being an altar boy to getting into high school, at the Catholic high school, graduating high school, and then moving into a monastery, living in a monastery, a Christian monastery in Montreal. He spent some time there. Um, and he, as far as anyone in my own personal life that I actually knew and had a personal relationship, he was the most connected, divinely holy person that I know. Yes, I knew, priests and those type of religious figures that would come and do ceremonies, that type of thing. But my father was the one who was as devout as you possibly could be to any religion, practiced it daily, um, helped out daily, was, part of the congregation, an active part of the congregation, did readings, did that type of thing, communion. And he taught catechism and that type of thing. So my father, before he passed away, the year before he passed, he knew that my sister and I had started this journey and really was profoundly changing how we were thinking and what we were doing. Because it's like you always know that there's something in you that knows, but you don't know what it is. And when you go out here to find it, it's really difficult to find the sustenance or the substance or the depth or the profoundness to give you validation for what you feel inside. And some people, I've been told that maybe it's just like a grandiose type of mentality or mental health issue where like you're the grandiose type of thing. Well, it's not that. It's this innate feeling that there's more. And that's not just about me. So, anyways, my father told me that after being a practicing Christian, he saw that my sister and I were on this journey of learning Reiki and practicing it, and I wanted to start teaching. I was compelled. I was put on my heart to teach. And so a couple of years ago, before he passed, and he said, and my family said, luckily, some of my sisters and my parents, they wanted to participate in a class. They wanted to know what it was all about. Like, it changed my older sister's life. It's changing my life. Like, we want to support Tom, and he's offering. It's free. Let's check this out. So luckily, they said yes. So in the process of going through the Reiki class with my family, I watched a lot of things happen. I watched some really beautiful, incredible miracles happen. And what happened with my father, like I said, he'd been a devout Christian for 70 plus years of his life, working in congregation, actively, being a part of retreats, you name it. My dad did that. Aside from being the priest, my dad did all that other thing, and he was devout and as connected as you could possibly imagine. So I'm teaching him Reiki, and we're doing it over distance. We're doing it over Zoom calls, and then when I saw them in person, I would do the hands-on stuff as often as I could. And he would tell me oftentimes that he hasn't felt this kind of invigorated in his soul or spiritually or connected to God or connected to spirit since he had been in the monastery studying in silence with other, other men, other monks, going about their daily tasks in absolute devotion and absolute connection while they were doing that. And that was a really profound moment for me. And it was a light bulb going off, especially during his attunements, which is a ceremony um, to align him and to have him ready for Reiki. Is that when I did his attunement, it was like he said that was the most divine and holy thing he's ever experienced. And I'm not saying I'm so, thankful and grateful to have been part of that experience. But, again, I'm not the source. But I watched this man who was devout Catholic, devout Christian, say and tell me that, and I'm not trying to offend anybody here, right? But he said, this is what the church needs to adapt in order to keep people aligned with how things are going on in the real world. Why wasn't this taught to me? Is something my dad said. Why wasn't this taught to me? Because it's as holy and as divine as you could possibly get. It also shows that as a human being, you being a human being, every single one of us have this beautiful connection and ability. And he didn't know it even after practicing for 70 years. So it was validation for me. Not because my father was very judgmental, but if it didn't align with him, he didn't say anything, right? He's the kind of person that would just nod his head. If it worked for him, he would give you a general comment. But to hear my father say, like, holy, you know, this is as big as it could possibly get for me, thank you so much, Tom. And I was like, I'm not thanking, thank you, but wow, right? So it doesn't matter what your creed is. It doesn't matter what your belief is. This is a practice in action in the energy or the Holy Spirit or the chi, the prana, the whatever you want to call that of your religion or creed or belief. This is an actual actionable practice to help ground you and help to bring out what it is that, I dare say God, source, universe, cosmos, whatever that energy is asking you to do as a human being, right? That's incredible. I spent, listen, for those of you who know me, you're like, I can't believe Tom Burns is this. Fair enough. Can't believe this is what Tom Burns is doing now. Well, what can I say? I can go along with that mindset or that belief, or I can change and know that this is where I'm at right now and talk about it because it's been put in my heart and I've been asked to do it. So that's what I'm doing. I can sit with, the critics. I can sit with the disbelievers. I can sit with the people who just want to throw mud at you, but that doesn't do anything. It doesn't, you know, how do you scientifically explain the experience that I've had? And know that millions of other people have had similar types of experiences and they've only profoundly changed these people. And you could be one of them if you like. And I'm not pushing it. Like, this is something if you've been in line and slinging through the mud and life hasn't been working for you for years and years and years and you're missing that thing, why not give it a try? Why not give something a try, right? It doesn't have to be that way. Why am I saying this? Because I was that guy. I was that guy, right? If you know me, you know what I'm talking about. My early years, I was a musician, so I was connected to something energetically, right? A musician feels compelled to express, to connect to emotions, to connect and move other people. So there's something happening there that's absolutely a connectivity thing to energy. But oftentimes we forget, or it's not as immersive, or we don't think that it can be healing as a musician because that's what I did. That's what I love to do up to a certain point. So anyone can do it. Anyone. And it doesn't matter what your creed or your belief is. And I'm living proof of that. So again, I was a musician, and right out of high school, I enjoyed myself. I didn't go back to school until I was 23. So there's 5 years where I traveled. I played in bands. I did part-time jobs. I was lost. I was in and out of various relationships. Lots of booze, lots of parties, lots of late night, early mornings. I mean, that was my life. I maintained somehow. I'm still healthy, but I maintained, right? And and I really still drank alcohol up until 3 or 4 years ago, and I was compelled not to once I had these profound experiences because these profound experiences were just so important to me that I didn't want to mess with that anymore. I didn't want to change the possible connection, the connection that I knew I had. I didn't want to remove that, and I didn't want to, filter it through alcohol or drugs or anything that wasn't really going to serve me. So I quit immediately. And that's just me. You don't have to do that. Like, this is just where I was inclined to go next. So I went from that, and I had quote unquote a good job. I worked for a university. I had a full-time salary. I had this and that and all those things that you're supposed to have, but I was not happy at all. I walked in there, and after a few months, my boss at the time said, "Hey, we're lining you up for the management position. I'm teaching you all about the management." Excellent. Yay. So I learned it all, did it all. Time came for him to move on because he retired. Next person was put in place. Well, geez, didn't they hire someone who had no idea what they were doing, but had, whatever. So I had to teach this person everything that I learned with no pay bump, no blah, blah, blah. But that really affected me, right? Because I made a lot of plans and life was supposed to go a certain way, and it didn't. And so it left me depressed. It left me getting up as a struggle every single day. And then I got hurt on the workplace, popped my hip, messed up my shoulder. That introduced a whole lot of mental health stuff. Pardon me. I was unable to go to work for months and months. I was in rehabilitation for months and months. Literally, I was lying on the floor in pain on a yoga mat instead of being able to go to bed and sleeping with my family or with my wife, whatever. I was on the floor in the living room on a yoga mat. That's how I slept for months, right? So I had to go through a lot of crazy stuff. Literally went back to the job, left that because the universe said, "Hey, that's not for you anymore." Did something totally different, and then bang, I had my first Reiki experience, right? So I know some of you, if not all of you, can align with and understand the struggle. Can understand that life doesn't go the way you want it to go all the time. Things don't always line up how you've expected them to, and that life is not, it's not easy, but it's challenging. And your mindset and being connected to this source and this Reiki energy that I'm talking about can change everything. And so that's what it did for me. It removed doubt. It removed anxiety. I no longer had to take any, prescriptions for all the pain and stuff I was going through, and the pain led to mental health. I no longer had to take that. Boom, doubt gone. Anxiety gone. Stress very minimal, totally manageable. Um, that's why I'm compelled to do this, because I feel like everyone deserves a fair shot. Everyone needs to, should find some way to help themselves. That you don't have to live in agony and pain. And we can use everything that's given to us as tools of understanding self. But if you're omitting this big chunk of the pie, you're not giving yourself a fair chance. And I can say that because it happened to me. And I'm your average. Maybe I was a little bit different, but not a whole lot. To myself, I felt different. I never expressed that out there in the world. I was trying to follow along like everyone else, do what was socially accepted, do what everyone said you had to do because it made the most sense and it's going to give you security, financial, this, that, blah, blah, blah. But for me, you know, it was a huge leap of faith because I needed it, and it was actually what started this was a birthday gift from my wife. And she came up to me and she's like, "Hey, I got you a great birthday gift." And I was like, "Okay, all right, what is it?" She said, "I got you a Reiki session." And I went, "That sounds like a gift for you." And literally, I say that often. That's I say that in like my teachings and stuff. I was like, "That sounds like something for you. Just take the kids and go for a day or two, right? Like that's a great birthday gift." And she laughed and chuckled. She's like, "Well, just think about it. If you're not going to take it, I'm going to take it." So I went and I had my first Reiki session. Blew my mind. Changed my life forever. And I'm not a suggestive person. If you know me, I'm hard headed. It's hard to change my mind. Things don't go, the way I believe and how I align. Then I'm sorry. That's not for me. Could be anyone, could be jobs, could be careers, could be loved ones, it could be friends, it could be situations, it could be locations. I'm pretty pig headed when it comes to this stuff, but this changed my mind like that. And it's not that I was searching for something, so to speak. Maybe my heart knew, but I was open. Is all I said to her. I was like, "I'm open. I want to learn. Tell me what, teach me, show me what it's all about." That's it. That changed my life. So back, going way back. So Mikao Usui started in Tokyo his first school of Reiki, and then he opened one up in Hawaii with a couple of other people. Madame Takata was her name, and they were very, very successful. Westerners loved it. It was $10,000 back in the 30s and 40s to take a full mastership program. And this would have been at one of their schools. So translated in today's, that would have been like $50,000, right? Nowadays, it doesn't cost that much. I mean, it's even half of that price if you take like a mentorship or something for a certain amount of time to get your mastership, which is, I don't mean half of $50,000. I mean half of $10,000. It's like $5,000 kind of thing. So anyways, I diverge. I divulge. I'm moving in the different direction. So they brought it to the U.S. They brought it to the Western world, and Westerners were like, it was around that like Bruce Lee time. We're talking 50s, 60s, 70s, where people were really enthralled with the Asian culture. They're like, this is really neat. Wow. There's something magical or strange and all of the above about what it is that they're doing. And so Reiki really began to move at that point in time. Now, acupuncture started the same way in the Western world. People were like, yes, we connect to your meridian system, your energetic system, and we put these little needles, perhaps, dozens and dozens of them all over your body, and it's going to align you and help you with these conditions. Westerners were like, no, you're not. What? What is that all about? And then finally it started to come into our minds and accepted. And then there were studies and all that that said, hey, this is a holistic practice and it works. Unfortunately, Reiki's not there yet, but we're getting there. There's a growing body of studies, scientific studies that you can Google them that are showing that, you know what, there's something here, guys. So I'm moving again. Anyways, I've moved from the direction. So that brings us to today. That brings us to what's happening with Reiki now. And the understanding of Reiki now is that it is, from my perspective, I'll reiterate what I've already said. It is a very simple, very effective. Anyone can learn it. Anyone can do it. I'm teaching my 4-year-old about it now. Maybe not the symbols and that kind of thing, but just to slow down and to feel and to understand that connection, right? And they get it. They get it. And they're closer to source, so it's probably even easier, right? They're closer to God, closer to the universe, closer to the magic, closer to the energy, whatever you want to call it. So we're teaching them now. It's 4 years old. I was teaching my dad, and he was in his, late 70s. There's no requirement other than the desire to be a nice and good person and to practice and to do the best you can. That's it, right? No one's ever going to come and be like, you fail, you fail, you fail. As an instructor, you can vet people where someone might be in it for financial gain only, and they don't care about any of the ritual, any of the tradition, any of the connecting. They just want to pose themselves as whatever and take your money, right? So I can vet that out, but that's few and far between as far as I'm concerned. Very, very rarely do people honestly come to you and they want to learn this, invest time and money into it, and then just walk away trying to steal from people's pockets. Like, this is about really the beautiful divine connection to something greater, and then using it to be of service to other people. So today, um, I practice Reiki often. I've expanded off of traditional Usui Reiki into energy work. And energy work has brought me into many, many things, many areas and of service to other people that I didn't know was possible, that I was capable of doing these things. And I've found nothing more rewarding. The closest thing as rewarding to this was when I worked with seniors, when I was a personal caretaker for people who are convalescent, people who are, on their way out, you know, that was really rewarding and difficult at the same time. But this is like even more of service because I'm not a doctor or a surgeon per se by certificate and by diploma, but I am as helpful as some people have described to me. Like, you've done something that nothing else has been able to do for me. And I take that to heart and I say, thank you, person, but thank you. I don't look at myself and say, Tom, you're so good. It's not about that. It's not about, I'm just the conduit. We are all just the conduit. So that changed my life. And I've watched and witnessed some incredible things that have happened in the process. I've watched people's mental health um, what's the word? Not decline, but the opposite of decline. Not incline, but just change. I've watched people like walk away. Even if it's not a cure all. It's not meant to be a cure all. It's meant to help you, so you can learn to help yourself. After a Reiki session, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, so this is what it feels like to be normal. 2 or 3, maybe days or weeks go by, and then they immerse themselves back into a lifestyle or a mindset or patterns or socialization that is exactly the same. So all of it comes back. It happens honestly. We're not trying to be, the way we are, I guess, when it comes to needing help and needing counsel and needing whatever aid we need mentally or physically. We're not really trying to hurt ourselves for the most part. We're trying to feel good and to be better, but we don't know that this is available to us and we don't know that we can do this. So I've watched people with mental health concerns walk out of there and be like, oh my gosh, there's nothing happening in my head. I feel I'm at peace, or those concerns are lifted now, or like I felt so much blockages in my heart and my whatever, and I don't feel that. I feel like I'm floating on air. I've seen people recover physically from things, And a lot of people say, hey, this is supernatural. How is this possible? No, we already know the scientific studies behind the placebo effect. And this is on my list here. So whoever made this list, it's here. Reiki is a placebo, is a common misconception or myth. Mindset is huge. Mindset is huge about what you believe is your truth. And what the truth will be is the actions you take, the actions become your way of life. That's absolutely true. Now imagine you could actually believe and then witness and watch the most amazing and beautiful, incredible things happen. You are that powerful. You have that ability. And this isn't me like teaching, like, oh, take my method. No, this is common. If you're in the coaching world, if you're in the manifestation world, or if you're into like anything new age or mindset work, this is what they all tell you. Your mind, what you tell yourself, is what you believe is true. And your life will reflect that. That's absolutely true. So imagine your spiritual goals and your spiritual awareness and beliefs of self, or that I'm a healer. I'm of service to other people. I can help other people in the highest regard. I can raise their energy and raise their vibration, and they can learn this for themselves, and then they can do that. And it's like watching this domino effect happen, right? It's huge. So mindset is key. I've worked on people like, I don't think this is going to work on me. And then, their belief was this much. They're willing to try was sure, okay, I'll try. Um, their belief that it's actually going to do anything was low. And afterwards, they're just like, oh my gosh. They look at me like, oh my gosh, this is real. I'm like, yeah, yeah. I know. Look at what I'm doing. I mean, if any of you know me personally, you know that like I struggled with being a musician as a career. I reached a certain point and I said, ah, man, I just don't like putting myself like this out for other people to judge and to, and the music industry is like, whoa. It's still a wonderful, incredible, beautiful thing. I'm glad I'm a musician. I attribute so much of the energy work and who I am now to my musical sort of innate abilities and my draw towards it and my desire to express and my desire and understanding of feeling and then communicating those feelings. So much of what I do now has been based on that whole thing. But if any of you know me personally, you know that I really struggled with trying to get myself out there musically again, right? I got to a point where I was like, I was shy even. I was like, I can't do this. I just can't do this. It's not resonating, or I feel whatever. I couldn't do it. But now, like, look what I'm doing. I have no no other option but to do this. I'm that compelled to be talking about what it is that I'm doing now, and Reiki and how it's changed my life. So that's by comparison, right? He couldn't even be a musician, but here I am talking about this. That's how profound it's changed my life. That's how much I need and want this to change people's lives. Not because of me, it's because you and your own experience and your own connection to God or to the universe or to source is right there. It's not because of me. I'm happy to be, the person who gives you papers or this and that, but I mean, to have massive amounts of people with this understanding changes the world, changes everything we know about the world. And that's what it's all about for me. I want to be a conduit of that. So, the placebo, yes, we know that mindset can change things. Belief can change so much, but belief in the energy and using the energy and then changing and growing with that expansiveness and having that energy as the resource, you know, to do anything that you do is what will change lives. And so the physical law is entrainment. And it is, I love it because it's a frequency and vibration. And it is that which is of the highest frequency or the strongest vibration, all other things will begin to resonate at that frequency. So, for example, this is a simple one. You've got Joey Cool or I don't know, Monica Cool, whatever the names are. I don't know. Friends or Friends in my head. Friends episodes. Anyway, scrolling, cruising down the boulevards or whatever, and they've got their the bass just cranked to the max in their car, and they've got a super duper car, right? And I mean, we're talking about Subaru WRX, from 1990s, that's got a spoiler the size of your house and like lights underneath, all that stuff. I'm not a car guy. I'm just talking crap. I don't know, but anyways, imagine that. And you're, on the sidewalk or on your front porch enjoying the night or just going out for a walk, and there you can hear them coming from a mile away and they drive by you. You can't help but vibrate at the frequency of that bass that's going. You can't help your body physically. The physics involved is that you are going to vibrate when that huge resounding bass, you know, comes into proximity with you. You are now vibrating with it because it is the strongest frequency. right? That makes sense. Now, energy is the same way, the frequency of energy. A lot of energy we can't measure. We have these lenses and these tools from which we can measure, but there's so much beyond that. And especially from a human perspective, we can only see this much. Cats can see this much. Dogs, for example, humans can hear this much. Dogs can hear this much. We don't know. We have limitations to our measurements. Anyways, what I'm going with that is that this universal source, Reiki energy, source energy, divine energy, God energy, whatever you want to call it, is the most powerful and most predominant frequency that is available to us. But with free will, with the idea of deciding to connect to and listen and allowing it to affect us. That's the difference here is that we have free will. So if we want to tune in, we can turn that radio dial. If we don't want to, we can turn it off. But should you decide to dial in and allow that energy to affect you, it is the strongest of possible vibrations at all. So you will, through the physical law of entrainment, you will now energetically vibrate on the same level, on the same frequency, because you are allowing the passage of it to go through you, right? It's the exact same thing. If you're in that car, and you reach out and you grab someone's hand who's walking by, and your hand's going, well, guess what? Their hand starts doing the same thing. So this is the idea behind frequency and the idea behind God and energy and that which is we're connected to, is that if we connect to the most powerful thing, we are now of that vibration, and then we can take that vibration and extend it. Does that make sense? That's what Reiki is. That's not placebo. The mindset allows you to expand upon and to understand or believe to what extent are you going to allow this physical vessel, the mind and the brain and your emotions, to what extent are you going to allow, the capabilities, the possibilities to occur with or without limit? There's some people who are incredible Reiki practitioners. They've been doing it for 30 years, and this is the scope by which they want to work. This is the scope of their beliefs and how they go about doing it, and that's fine. It's great because it's helping people, it's of service, blah, blah, blah. But there's some people like me, I go, hey, that's cool, but what's this? But what's this? But what's this? But wow, right? That's me. I'm not a one, like, this is the way person. There's never, my way is all inclusive, and my way isn't just my way. So anyway, I'm moving in all kinds of different directions. So I've been talking for like 45 minutes straight here. I'm gonna take a breather, and I'm gonna have a sip of my coffee, and I'm gonna do that right now. So if you're here, you've got coffee, you've got water, you just need to take a breath. Do that right now, because I'm gonna reach for and grab my cup of coffee, and I'm gonna enjoy it. I don't even care if it's cold; it's still gonna be a perfect cup of coffee. Yeah, even 45 minutes later, still so good, right? Still so good. And what do? I grind it myself, and you brew it in a French press, and I've created that because my belief is, and I understand that that action will create an outcome that I'm going to be favorable to. It's mindset. You can do this with anything. You can do this with energy. You can do this with healing. You can do this with connection. So only certain people can be good at it. That's not true. That's not true. This is a common myth and misconception. Like, I've trained some people who were afraid then after they've taken the training, they've worked on me, and I'm like, wow, yeah, you've got it. You understand what you're doing. You understand the connection. Although you're still working through it, it's still new and you need practice and blah, blah, blah. You get this. And then they just don't get out there because the mind says, this is fear. This is a fear-based event now. Or usually it's self-sabotage. I don't think I can do this. Or what if I hurt? What if I this? What if I do that? So that again goes into the limitations of what that person's perspective actually is, because the universe and God is all things, all encompassing this entire, what we know and what we don't know. The majority of it is what we don't know, but we understand that we're connected, deeply connected somehow, right? It's the person's perspective that limits them to what they can see. So I've trained someone, did all the right things, they got to the point where they had to go out and put their hands over people and start practice, and that was it. Done. Done. They just couldn't do it, right? Because they got into their mind. So as far as I've seen, provided that you have the desire to do it, you're generally a nice person, you care for other people and yourself, and you want to help and be of service. That's the criteria for doing Reiki. That's it, right? Anyone who follows that and says, I'm now going to be active about that using the traditional Usui Reiki methods. I'm now going to be active. I've never seen it not work. I've never seen it like flop. I've never, it's never not worked. Why is that, right? So a lot of it is perspective of self. Because if you say you can't, free will, then you're deciding to limit that channel that's coming in. You're deciding to say, I can't, well, I'm not going to, and now there's nothing happening. So it's like the 4 minute mile thing back in the, I forget, I'm sorry, I don't know the dates, but it's just coming to me now. Was it the 50s or 60s when that one gentleman said, I'm going to be the first to break the 4 minute mile? And everyone said, the entire world, marathon Olympic runners, the world said, you can't. It's humanly impossible to break a 4 minute mile. So, to run it on 1 mile under 4 minutes. It's humanly impossible. That's the scientific belief, perceived perceptions of society as a whole at that time. Can't do it. So this person said, yeah, watch me. And they did it. Now, immediately after, no one else in history had done this ever. That one person said, I'm going to change their mind, beliefs, trained hard, were active in it. As soon as they did that, time and time again after that, within a couple of periods, multiple people were now breaking the 4 minute mile. Is that not a societal paradigm? Is that not a personal paradigm where we limit ourselves to the beliefs that we're told we have to believe or that we put upon ourselves, right? So when you see what's possible and then you experience what's possible, all of this starts to widen and broaden. You start going, oh my gosh, I'm part of this. And it's beautiful. Reiki, energetic healing, your own life, your own mindset is not excluded from that whatsoever. It's like in line. It's perfectly, it's the center of it all, is that core belief. How many people say I can't and then they don't and they won't and they never will? How many people say I'm going to try? And how many people say I'm doing this? I'm doing it. And it doesn't matter if it's 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, their entire life. If they say they're doing it and they never give up the belief and they never give up on the action involved in succeeding, they get it. They do exactly what they put their minds out to. So the beliefs are absolutely true that you and anyone can do this. Anyone can do this. I'm teaching my 4 year old. I watched my father learn it, in his late 70s. I'm certain there are lots of people out there that are practicing right now. And there's people it doesn't matter what your creed is. It doesn't matter what your culture. It doesn't matter what your language is. That's the beautiful thing about Reiki is it's incredibly foundational to take you into this concept and to take you into this understanding and to bring about energy and action. And it's a different energy than being able to, like bench press all this stuff or run all this. It's a different energy. It's a connected to source, connected to God energy, connected to the universe energy, connected to your divine self energy. And that's what it is. I've studied all kinds of different of these. Reiki's my favorite by far. And the most simple, the most effective, and the most, what's the worst? Introductory, but it's the best trampoline or launching pad into wherever you're going next. I can attest to that because that's what I do now, right? Um, it's not that it's a breeze, it's not a bird course, but it's simply and easily practiced and understood. It's I wouldn't say it's effortless, but it's a good vibration type of work. I don't know if you know what I mean. So maybe artists or musicians, or when you're, if you're a problem solver, if you're into a good math problem, whatever it looks like, or you're making scientific discoveries, it's one that you're working on that you're really happy and satisfied to be doing. And that's what Reiki it was for me, anyways. And I haven't met anyone who's like, that sucks. I'll never do that again. They're out there. I mean, we're all human. Sometimes people just aren't there yet, and that's okay. It's no judgment. I wasn't there for however many years, right? So, what else we got here for common myths and misconceptions? You can't heal yourself. You absolutely can. We already talked about that. You can't heal others. Now, this is interesting. This is interesting. Do I do the healing? People will say, yes, Tom, you're. And I go, wait a second. Most people automatically jump on, well, yes, I am the healer. I am the. That's okay to adapt it as, a hat that you must wear or the cape that you must put on at times. But if you are taking all of the kind of uh, all of the fanfare, all the credits, all of the responsibilities, all the acolytes, whatever you want to call it, for being the healer, you're missing something because it's not about you. It's really not about you. And that will cap the work that you do. because there's no limitation to a universal power. There's no limitation there except for the one that you place on it. Well, you're inadvertently doing that when you say I am. Now, there's nothing wrong with saying I am from a philosophical perspective, knowing that I am this energy. I am but of this energy. But then what do you do in service with that energy? Or what do you do to become a powerful and mighty with that energy? There's different vibrations there. And did you catch them? Did you catch that? Did you feel that? You can still be mighty and powerful and have lots of money and all these things and still be of beautiful, incredible service to other people. There's a fine balance that you have to maintain there. But oftentimes when people get into holistic healing and the whole reason they're into it is because they want to make a pile of money, that's really going to reflect their healing practice or what they're manifesting, what the outcomes are. You might live in a mountain of money, but uh, you've brought on a lot of you've you've become a magnet for attention that you didn't really want, that you didn't know you were getting it into. You know. Anyways, so that's a whole other discussion. That's a whole other topic. So anyone can learn it. Um, in order for it to work, you have to believe that it works. Um, it certainly helps, right? It helps. I mean, if I was going into my first Reiki practice, my first Reiki session, and I was like, this is crap, and I just stuck to that, right? This is crap. Then, yeah, it's like if someone says, for example, like, check out this song, and they press play and they turn up the speakers, and you go, I don't like this song, right? It's that kind of concept. So, um, I'm just saying that if you're feeling inclined whatsoever to learn about, it, you should, and not even through me. Like I'm not doing this for me. Like this was life changing stuff. You're not taught it in school. You're not taught it typically in a family system. But it is of that which you probably already believe, as long as it's some sort of creed of being of service and of a higher power or of being connected to a god or that type of. This is it in action, and it's changed my life. So, um, let's see what I've got here. That looks good. I've been about an hour. Oh, look at this. I see some messages. Thank you guys for posting some messages. If you have any questions, you can throw them in there now. I'd love to address them. Hey, Catherine, good to see you. Tell us all about it. Love the convo, and it's good to educate, especially. Thank you, Catherine. I listen. My father was an incredible speaker and a dedicated teacher, and I loved that about him. Is that he was so incredibly passionate about that which he spoke about changing people's lives, about watching them bloom and grow. My father also worked with special needs children, severely mentally incapacitated or physically incapacitated. And he would go into these situations. And I said this before, and I say this and my heart shines, right? This was the essence of my father, is that he would go into this scholastic situation and he would see the divine and he would feel the divine and the beauty that was in these children in school, from elementary school and later, that looked physically to be not there or physically wrapped up in some sort of cocoon that they couldn't escape from, of physical, people who were just right. Like my father would feel and see the divine in these children, like incredible. When I was growing up and a teenager and dad was still working and he would drop us off at school and then go to his job, I didn't see the importance. I was caught up in my own teenage drama, my own teenage life, mixed with those innate energetic feelings that I was feeling about what I should be doing and how I should be doing it, ignoring it all, you know, that kind of thing. Good morning, Heather. Good morning, Holly. My goal is to be mentally healthy to get off the meds. Yeah, that's a beautiful goal. One of the most important things is to tell yourself, regardless of quote unquote the reality, if you want to start changing, this is from my perspective because I was on meds. I get it. I was on pain meds, and I talked about it a little bit earlier. Pain meds and stuff with mental health because of the pain and just external situations, that kind of thing. Is that I believed and I held on to the with faith, with utter conviction, that I knew that which was of my best self, I would never compromise. Didn't matter what it was. If you go through my Facebook history, you'll notice probably at a certain point that I stopped complaining online because I stopped complaining to other people. I stopped wanting and needing to feel and express that vibration. Now, there's definitely a place for that, right? But for me and where I was in that journey, I was like, the more I continue to be and to talk and to represent myself of that vibration and tell myself and to tell other people of this place. And I know that's part of the healing process. So I'm not pointing fingers here. I get that this is a process that you have to go through. But at some point I said, I'm enough with that. I'm aware of all my issues. I know all my stuff, but that's not where I want to swim. I'm not swimming in this kind of yucky, slow moving pool of who I am and the labels and what I'm feeling. I want to be here. I'm now going to start talking to myself as if I'm here now. So I'm healthy. I'm strong. I am mentally sound. I'm even though I might have a list this long that says I'm not. I don't care about that, right? That's just an opinion. I know that will change once all of this manifests. Right? So spiritually, what are you manifesting? Because Holly, I believe, and you know, because we've done some one-on-ones, you know that you are absolutely capable of that which you dream of and that which you know you can do. I know you can, right? And allow yourself the patience for this process to unfold. It's not supposed to feel good the whole time. People are like, wait, it's off vibration. I have to stop. I have to quit. Well, no, you can't get to the top of Everest without it being a life, without it almost being considered, the end of your life type of experience. Most people know that when they're trying to climb Everest, this might be the last thing that they ever do because they'll get stuck on that mountain forever. So that's something to know. I'm not saying you manifest that that's going to happen, but there's just this understanding that it is a difficult process. Sometimes it's challenging, but hanging on to that core belief and knowing with absolute conviction and faith that that is where you're getting is going to change it all and never compromising. You're going to waver. Things are going to fall back and forth. That's fine. It's okay. You're human. Feel it out, breathe it out. And Reiki gives you the tools to manage that, to self regulate. I used to self regulate, and if you know me, I used to self regulate with alcohol. I wouldn't consider myself an alcoholic. I consider myself like a mild drinker. Um, I wouldn't consider myself a partier. It became, and I talk about this a lot. At the end of the day, boom, I'd have my wine. Wine was a glass or a bottle, depending on how hard the day was, or what I had to do the next day, and that was kind of how I self-regulated. Um, like I'm 3 years now without alcohol, and I don't even think about it. I don't even miss it, and it's not, haha, look at me. Like we all have our vices, but at some point, that stuff just won't matter when your connection is this profound, when life changes that much for you and you see what can be done to you, and then you can be this conduit to other people. All those, like for me anyways, maybe not for everybody, all of my perceptions, all those things that I was, all the labels, everything that it all just kind of washed away. And it was like, that doesn't matter anymore. This is my purpose. This is my goal. This is what I have to do now. And all that stuff just became easier to deal with. There's no more doubt. I just know now. And if you've ever had a session with me, you'll be like, how do you, what do you, what's, there's a lot of questions I get because people don't get it. And I'm like, I understand you look at me and say, hey, this is amazing. But I go, hey, so are you. Anyway, good morning, Heather. My goal is to be mental, and you will be. So it is a step beyond what we are learning in our class group. Oh, yes, absolutely. Now, there's people who take Reiki and then go to energetic foundations because the energetic foundations covers a broader sort of scope of energy. But Reiki is like for you, if you know that you want to take active practice to be of service to yourself and to others, it gives you a certified methodology in which to do that. Right? That's the difference. Is that to understand this cerebrally and then to understand it emotionally is, but then to take action. And that's where Reiki comes in, is about stepping out and taking action. Like I said, in the 70s, whatever, when acupuncture first came over, people were like, oh, acupuncture, just stick needles in me. Like, that's crazy. That's voodoo. That's. But then all of a sudden people are like, oh, no, it actually feels really good. And it helped me with this. And widespread fire, it started changing lives, right? So Reiki's kind of the same thing, is that right now, we don't really know a whole lot about it, but people are on the bandwagon of energy, and understanding energy is one thing, but then taking action and being of help to yourself and to other people is like, what more do you want from life, right? And I'm talking like deep emotional goal purpose. I'm not talking, don't throw me yachts and your 50 millions, all that. There's piles and heaps of healers and piles and heaps of motivational speakers, coaches who are living and swimming in billions of dollars. That's cool, that's fine, but this isn't about that. It doesn't exclude it, but it's not focused on that, right? This is focused on the self. Who are you? What are you connected to? How important is that to you? If it's not important, then okay, go back to making your money, and Go back to putting your head down, or your problems are never changing, and living this life however it's going to live, you know. That's a hard process for a lot of people, is to just kind of nonchalantly go through life without knowing that there's more and taking steps, active steps to do something about it. That's fine. I'm not going to judge. You know, most people will do that. But if you feel inclined to say, I know there's more, I feel there's more, then you got to follow that feeling. From my perspective, I've been that person. Like, it might have taken me a decade to get there, but I've followed it, right? Let's see. Let's see. Coffee is always good. Absolutely. Yeah, Reiki and this type of thing gave me a purpose that I never found anywhere else, right? I, if you know anything about me, I've got 7 years of post-secondary education in college environment. I was valedictorian in my college when I took audio engineering. That was the last, college, collegiate type of thing that academic pursuit that I did. I've had 4 or 5 what you would call careers where I should have stuck with that and I should have made piles of money and all of the things, right? I've always felt that there was missing, or that I wasn't in my place, that I wasn't in the right spot, or that I wasn't on track. I mean, I had to go through the struggles. I had to climb Everest. I had to go through the storms to get to this point where I'm like, oh, right? It wasn't easy. It's not easy. But then when you get there and you get to this mindset, you get to this connection place, it's easier because you know you're in line. You know, you get it. You get that perspective. You're on purpose. You're action based on purpose is the best way I can put it, right? So that didn't happen until I really dived into this. And then I went, okay, I get it. I understand my purpose with a big P, but it's not just me. It's that I am now of service to this collective, and I am of this collective, and we collectively are of an extension that is of an energy that's greater than me myself as an individual. That's a tough one for people to get to get through, right? I'm the energy is far more important than me, but I am of that energy, so I am still very important. Anyway, all right. Holy, I could just keep talking. Um, Catherine Ingle, oh goodness, that is so beautiful. Well, thank you. I wish I could recall, but that's okay. I'm trying to inspire, and I'm doing the best I can here. Absolutely, I can. Absolutely, you can. Holly, you know, absolutely you can. Whoever's listening or going to watch this later, absolutely you can. Absolutely you can. If you don't want to believe yourself, then believe me. Absolutely you can. Absolutely. The things that I've witnessed, the things that I've experienced, there was a point in my life where I said, that's impossible. I can't do that. What a load of crap. It's all false, fake, blah, blah, blah. Turn the TV on, distract, drink my beer, enjoy, go have fun, pretend. And that's it. And that's how I lived for a very long time. Absolutely, you can. Now, it's a whole lot easier to be able to connect to source and connect in this deep, deep way first, and then determine what your goals are going to be. Because aligning with the goal, with the energy, with that deeper, more profound, that entrainment, the physical entrainment that I was telling you about, the source resounding through you and being an implement of that energy, your decisions on what you want and how you want to go about doing them are way more clear and way more decisive than acting on your own and using just your mind and the logic to get you there. People are like, no, it has to be a logical. Well, yes, you work in cohesion with your logic, with your emotions, but then with your divine energy. And you work in that order. Sorry, you work in the opposite order. Divine energy first. How do you feel about that? Okay, check those feelings. Now line up your logic to make it happen. So, Jeanette, most of you know my wife, Jeanette, beautiful, loving, wonderful, incredible person. When we first met, I had spent 15 years of my life before that, this was 12 years ago, believing that the big goal at that time was to go to audio engineering school. I loved music. I wanted to learn how to create. I wanted to learn how to manipulate. I wanted to have all the gear. If you saw my setup here, you'd see that I've got all that gear now. Cool, huh? But I believed at that time that I needed it. I wanted it. It was the life changing thing. And then I also believed that it was not going to happen for me. It wasn't. It was just I didn't. I had 2 student loans already out. I wasn't getting family support. Well, I was getting some family support. You know, the right people were telling me the right things. I wasn't listening to them, obviously. Friends were, my partner at the time and their parents and her support network were saying no, no, no. When all that changed and I met Jeanette, it was like within the first couple of weeks, This is the power of Jeanette, right? Within the first couple of weeks, she was like, Tom, you must go to that school. And I was like, uh, don't talk to me about this. I can't, right? Because now she was like telling me what I'd told myself and what other people have been telling me for 15, 20 years that I can't do. She's saying, wide open, you must do this. And so I made up all of the, all the excuses as to why I couldn't. And then I jumped through a few hoops to figure out if I could. And then lo and behold, I was accepted. I got a bursary. I was in there. 2 years later, I become a teacher there, teaching professional development, helping motivate and align people with their dreams, and also valedictorian, right? And then take all that information, which is sound base, which is frequency, which is vibration, and vibration is all about energy, and it's all about what I'm in now. Take those studies, which I thought would enhance my life musically, and I was in school full time. I was raising kids because Jeanette was at work, so she would work evenings, I'd work mornings. We'd trade off. I was teaching, sorry, in school full time, teaching part time because I started teaching there as well, and I was raising the kids and making money. So that was my life. I was doing 80-hour weeks, easy, just to maintain. And at the end of it, I got the valedictorian, and I wasn't expected, didn't ask for, wasn't trying to manifest it, but they recognized like, whoa, I was like, wow, thank you, thank you. So yes, it's difficult, but Jeanette is the one who said, yeah, you can, and I want you to. And it was a difficult mental battle to go through. It was even harder to take actionable steps and then to believe that it's going to happen. The second I believed that it was a possibility, everything just went whoop. So that's where I'm at with you, right? Do you need Jeanette to tell you? Yes, you can, right? I kind of feel like that's what I'm trying to do is yes, you can, right? You are this already. Just start stripping away the layers and get to foundationally what's yourself. In energetic foundations, we discuss a lot of this, but we don't talk a whole lot about implementing it if you're feeling inclined to be of service to other people because it's wide open. Not everyone wants to know and learn and be a part of Reiki energy. Some people are just like, no, I'm cool with being a devout Christian or a devout Muslim, a devout Sikh, a devout whatever it is. I'm happy with those beliefs, but energetically, I want to expand my awareness at least so I can navigate the universe a little bit differently and navigate my world, have a different mindset, different perspective, that kind of thing. But sometimes in that unraveling process, people go, I really want to help people. Like, Tom, I hear what you're saying here. I don't know what that means. I don't know what it looks like, but yeah, you're speaking the truth. And I go, all right, you must follow. You must. If you don't, you can probably determine where that's going to take you already. That's predictable. There's safety, there's comfort and predictability, right? There's nothing wrong with that stuff. But if you know you have to, and you do, you're not going to know where it's going to take you. That's scary, but it's amazing. It's incredible. The conditions on Everest are changing by the hour. You have to get to that mountaintop. Can you predict the weather? Can you predict the conditions? Nope. But if you're that inclined to pursue your dream, you're going to do it. You're going to deal with the storms. You're going to deal with the wind, the hail, the rain, the snow, the avalanches, your best friend falling off the side. I mean, so you decide. You know where you can go. It's right there. That path is predictable. It's right there. You're absolutely right. Nothing wrong with it. Maybe in the next life or whatever's next, you'll come to your own fruition, your own connection, and take action. If you want to take an action that is connected and uncertain, but you know you must, then you have to. That's where I'm at with it. You have to. It's that simple. I can't tell you the outcome, but you must is the best way to put it. So, how does Reiki tie into all that? Like I said, and I've said this again a few times, it is the foundational action based belief and modality and system in which you can do all that. Results are different. Some people walk out of this and they're just like, oh my gosh, right? And they are like immediately taking clients and their extrasensory perceptions or their clairs is what I call them, have moved beyond anything they could possibly imagine, and their lives have changed dramatically. And some people take Reiki and then they settle back into their own life. Maybe they're a mom with 3 or 4 kids, and they're stay at home, work at home kind of thing. But they settle into it, knowing more and connecting more, and being able to settle some things of their mind and of their heart because they know that they have access to this energy anytime they need it and anytime they want. Right? What Jeanette and I did was kind of foolishly extraordinary. We upped ourselves, from where we lived, sold off, purged a whole bunch of stuff. The house is up for sale. We grabbed our little kids, relocated them in the middle of all this. So many people have said, I can't believe you just did that. Like, you're crazy, but good for you, right? And I'm like, well, I might be crazy. I accept that. I'm fine with that. But was this to the better? Absolutely. So, anyways, I could listen. You've taken my class. You know I could just keep going and going and going. Yes, become no one, nobody, pure energy. You are that. You are absolutely that, Jackie. You have this vessel to maintain, and therein lies our identity, right? We place our identities in the things that we must take care of as far as maintenance. If we could just be spirit and that's it, there would be none of this. Where would you go? What would you do if you knew you were unlimited in this universe? You don't even know. I don't even know, but I would explore. You can access that now. That's another course, another topic of conversation. But if you had that ability, would you do it? I think I would. So we have these bodies to maintain. We should be looking after our health to be of the highest vibration, the highest frequency. We should be taking care of our mental health. You know, um, we have to be of service to those that we should be. I hate saying have to, but it's my choice to be the best father that I can be. Right? It's my choice to be the best husband I can be. For those who want to operate or work with me in a friendship level, who understand where I'm at and know that I'm not making compromises, then I will be the best friend that I can be, right? And those are choice, those are maintenance things that we have to take care of with these bodies, with responsibilities. And then when you extend beyond yourself and your family, you now get into the world, societies. Now we're starting to get heavier. Vibrations are starting to change a little bit because we're now incorporating all of that out there, which isn't necessarily within our control, but that do affect us. So your car breaks down, you got to deal with it, right? You made $400,000 last year. This year you're lined up to be making 40. How is that affecting everything? If your mind and clarity and your balance is all right, you're rolling with those punches easily. But if you've got that this all has to be a certain way, it's a tough job puppeteering out here your entire life. That's a tough job. I do what I can with it. I let go of what I can't, and I expect a wonderful outcome. But sometimes all of the manifestations that happen in my life um, are on purpose, whether I've asked for them, wanted them or not. Sometimes that energy says, "Okay, you're ready." Pow. And I didn't, right? Look at death, right? Not to get weird or dark, but we don't want that. We want to cling onto this and all this, but it is a true reality. I cannot change the manifestation of something different. As a matter of fact, in an interesting way, I'm kind of now, I wouldn't say looking forward as in I want it to happen, but when the moment comes, when the time comes, it will be a joy to experience my energy body fully, right? That's an interesting perspective. Not everyone shares that. That's fine. However, I'm going off down roads. So we're here to talk about Reiki, and I'm here to help you with whatever I can. So if you've got some questions here, by all means, please. I see that the Facebook, you guys are posting some stuff. I'm there. I want to help people heal from trauma through energy. It's been pulling me so hard. Yeah, I mean, Holly, good for you. And anyone else who feels that pull is, you have to listen to it, right? Listening, learning, and then take action. Actionable, actionable, actionable. So often we learn. How many people do you know? I know a few have gone to school, traditional school, paid for their education, got their diplomas or their certifications or their degrees, whatever, and now they're sitting at home going, right? There's a lot going on there. There's probably more than just, but if this is something you know you need or must do, at the end of it, you have to be able to say, regardless of how I feel, regardless of my personal circumstance, I'm going to take action. Now, the action doesn't necessarily have to be what I'm doing, right? Your action can be you've got loved ones that you want to care for energetically, and that's it. Or maybe you just want to work with animals. Reiki, you can work with animals, just animals. If you want to do animal Reiki, you can do that. If you want to start your own practice in Hawaii, like, Dr. Usui did, then take action, right? But if you learn and then not incorporate and not engage and not throw yourself out there, then it's like anything, right? It's like any sort of practice. If you're not going to learn how to play guitar and practice, but then not go out and play shows, like, okay, you have this incredible hobby that you're not doing anything with. Well, this is more than hobby, right? So that's my only recommendation to anybody is that make sure when you commit that you're ready to take action. The action doesn't have to be this grand. It could just be these tiny leaps of faith that are supposed to take you wherever you're meant to go. Follow your heart's desire, absolutely, and listen, because if you're following your own heart's desire, that's great, but as you're connecting and listening to what's being told you, you can accept or not accept. Oftentimes when you're getting information or downloads or intuitive hits and it's like, hey, we feel, or The inclination is a communication of sorts that says you should take this step. There's a reason why you're getting that inclination or intuition, and it's beyond you, right? So it kind of syncs up with your heart and the desire of a connection beyond you that you are still a part of, listening in sync to both of them, right? What you want, what the universe wants. You are not separate from, but you must pay attention to both, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm still chatting here, still going, which I love doing. You guys know I could do this till 4 o'clock and it's only 20 after 12. Questions or comments, anything else here you guys want to ask me? Um, you can check out my website, platinumlighthealing.com, for stuff. You can private message me on Facebook or whatever platform on Instagram if you have any questions about what it is that how I can help you. My wife is her business, what she loves to do and how she helps people through service is energy and with Jupiter Meridian. That's she makes high vibing, energetic jewelry. So these are all custom made. She makes that stuff. You can check her stuff out. Um, I am also doing a free healing session this Sunday online. It'll be a Zoom link because I don't want to, I want people to opt in as opposed to just show up and then the scrutiny of the world is on you as you're on Facebook. Maybe I should let go of that paradigm and just say screw it. But I've been told by those people who make these decisions that I should just do a Zoom link. So I will. But it's going to be a self Reiki guided sort of workshop or session led by me. And all you do is show up and you just settle in. You want to be quiet and comfortable and have no distractions for half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever. And I'm just going to walk you through a healing session, a self healing session. And so that means that, yes, I'm sending energy, but it's also about you and your connection, what you're capable of. So that's going to happen on Sunday. I don't know the time yet, but I'll let you know. You'll see it on Facebook, or if you're here for me or Jeanette, whatever, you'll know about that as well. So um, that's all I got for now. Thank you for those of you who are participating. I fully anticipated or believed that there's a possibility that I just might be sitting here talking to myself for a while, and that's fine too. But for those of you who have showed up and engaged, I'm forever grateful. And if you know anyone who could, you know, learn from me or need some help or some guidance or whatever, just throw them my way. And, I'd love to help however I can. If any of you need that, by all means, please hit me up. Um, if you feel that you've got some questions or things that you want to probe or stuff that you want to sort of pick away, but you didn't feel that you could do that right here, by all means, private message me and I'll give you what I can and help you however I can. Okay. Um, so the last thing I wanted to say is that no one who has your best intuitive interests at heart are ever going to, the right type of connected healer is ever, will they ever deter you from intuitively, you know, knowing or taking a path that you have to take. So what I mean by that is someone who's connected is never going to convince you not to take a path that you intuitively know you have to take. Someone who's connected and is a healer and understands energy is going to be like, yeah, you have to do that. It doesn't matter if it's in my direction or that person's direction, or you're following this stream, or you're moving to Oklahoma, or you're heading down to, Alberta or whatever. No one's going to deter you from your path if you intuitively know you must do that. If someone is kind of taking you saying, well, don't do that thing you're feeling intuitively inclined to do, but take my program or follow this person or check out, like, if it's not jiving with you, you got to trust yourself. If it is jiving with you, you got to trust yourself. Okay? That's all I got. I hope I can be a resource and a guide and help you guys however I can. So thank you so much. One big breath. Quiet moment. I really appreciate all of you. And I want you all to appreciate yourselves and know how incredibly important you are and know how connected you are. And let's take action, right? That's what it's all about. Thank you again. I'll see you soon. And adios for now. I'll make this replayable for those of you who want to watch that or whatever. Okay? Take care. See you then.